Hey, it's Chrissy from Color Artists. Welcome back to our channel where we share all types of tips and tricks on business productivity and overall brand and marketing. This video here is a recording of a workshop, which is part 2 of a 3-part series where we're going to discuss how you can use Trello to systemize and automate your business workflow. So part 1 was centered around automating and systemizing and streamlining your own workflow, right? Organizing self. And part 2 is going to be general workflows, talking about social media marketing, podcasts, onboarding team members, onboarding new clients, whatever systems you need in your business. Trello is a really great flexible tool to start automating those systems. So we have just a video for that. Make sure you stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to discuss how to use Trello within team, especially remote teams. This is really important. Make sure you like and subscribe to make sure you get notified when we post our next part 3 of this video. All right, stay tuned, enjoy the workshop. But I'm going to get started. All right, so as I was telling the early ones, this is going to be very actionable, guys. So you're going to need some type of pen or paper, some type of notebook, something, because we're going to be kind of walking through the steps, because I've done this before just one-on-one with clients, and I'm fully aware that talking about and showing you an example of an automation, while most of you have seen them anyway, because I pull my boards up all the time, it's much more helpful when you get into the mindset of automating your own systems. So this is kind of centered around Trello for right now, but I will talk about other systems as well towards the end. So let's hop right in. So Lexi put a quick little message in the chat. We still have one more workshop left for this series, which is managing your teams. So if you have a team or if you're building a team, managing that in Trello as well, like team workflows. So make sure you type team in the chat. And then if you still haven't received access to the first recording, just type solo in the chat. We'll make sure we get it to you. All right. So I'm pretty sure everybody on here knows why systems and workflows are important, because like at some point there's only so much you, and at some point you either need to hire someone, delegate it, automate it, systemize it, build some type of process around it to make it easier on you and your team. So a lot of the things that we work on at Color Addict and Boss Fish are very systemized. You kind of work through a flow, okay? So I'm gonna talk about real quickly some common workflows so I can get you some ideas, because I want you to start thinking about what process is the most important for you to start with. You don't want to start doing all of these processes. Okay, and I'm going to pick on each of you and give you some that I think you should use for this workshop. So social media marketing, obviously, you guys have all seen the content planner. It connects to Trello. It does everything magically. Client onboarding. I'm sure there's lots of documentation and all kinds of things for your client that you might want to start thinking about. Podcast batching, Instagram reels, blog post, order fulfillment, team member onboarding, exposure or speaking engagements, anything that you're doing on a regular basis, or something that's repeatable, or something that's reoccurring. Did I just come up with 3 R's, y'all? Am I one of those people? The 3 R's, no. If it's repeatable, or if it's something you have to do on a recurring basis, this is a process you need to be systemizing, no matter how small. For example, of a really tiny one that I'll give you all is, if there's an email that you send out a lot, you can create like email templates or create a canned email inside of Gmail, and just, that's a way to systemize on a very small level, because even just redrafting that same thing over and over again is not very, productive. All right. So does anyone have, or does anyone want to share their process that they want to start automating? And Gabby, I would say, well, no, I want to hear first, and then I'll suggest if you don't have any. I was just going in order. That's why I picked on you, Gabby. You're first on my screen. Does anyone want to share any systems, anything that's like driving them crazy? What can't they figure out? What keeps falling through the cracks? You guys just wanted to just automate stuff on a workshop. You have no need for it. You're like, just say, y'all got plenty of time, huh? Y'all must have crazy. What'd you say, Kristen?
Everything falling through the cracks.
Everything. Okay, so if you're like Kristen, a lot of things are coming to your mind. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Let me turn my phone on D&D because that's gonna happen. If you got a lot of things that are coming to the surface, you have to. Me and Angela just did this in her one-on-one, so you should prioritize. So one, document the list of everything. So let's start there. So just write down all of the systems that could be beneficial to you. So again, most of the ones that I just listed, so I'll give you a few. Social media marketing is one that everyone's going to have. Your Instagram Reels, or any kind of video batching is going to be one that's kind of multiple steps needing to be done. If you write a blog, that's another process you might want to build. If you do workshops, if you're trying to get speaking engagements, if you're trying to get your own podcast, workshop, etc., guest onto your platform. So these are just a few. Onboarding. Everybody here is going to onboard a client, customer. Even if you have a product-based company, you still have onboarding, which we can talk about that. But so does that help? So write them all down first. And then which one do you do the most? Like, let's just start there. What are you spending most of your time doing? Let's automate that first. Or you can choose to do the low-hanging fruit side as well, like the easiest thing to do. Does anyone have one?
I spend most of my time doing social media content creating and batching, or trying to anyway. I'm not always successful at it, but it's social media for me. And then after that would probably be like email, but I don't like emails. So it's hard for me to get into sending emails because I barely check mine.
Yeah, you mean email marketing, right?
Right. So I'm trying to figure out a creative way. I think I figured out something, but a creative way that allow me to continue to have that opportunity to touch my potential client and keep them warm, and continue to make them feel warm and fuzzy without having to send out a very generic. The reason why I don't like emails is because I am a very much a people person and a personable person. So I like to talk to people like I know them. So like sending out a blast, like an email blast, where I just put people's name in a spot, just feels so unauthentic to me. So it's like it's sounding personal because I'm like, hey Lexi, but really I'm saying, hey Gabriella, hey Danielle, hey Iman. I'm saying the same hey to everybody. When I might say, hey Lexi, or hi Gabriella, or hey Danielle, like I want to be able to like do that.
Yeah, I got you.
So I don't know. That's what my struggle is with email, but
yeah,
like, I like that personal touch of feeling like, oh no, she really is talking to me. Like she's not just sending some random emails. So I'm like, hey Danielle, how's it going? How's the baby? I just know you like I want to just have that. Yeah. But I can't do that by sending out a mass bulk email to 200 people.
Not necessarily. You could use something, this is completely off topic, but I got you. You could use something like a mail merge, and mail merges allow you to basically build the formula, and then you still input certain things for each person. And you can also switch up your greetings as well. But I mean, to your point, or not to your point, but my biggest thing that I hear is that I'm unclear of who I'm talking to, because I could draft an email that's talking to you, Chris, that I know that Danielle and Gabby and Ashley would resonate with. So my brand strategist red flag ear is like, you don't know who you're talking to clear enough yet. Does that make sense? Clear enough. I'm not saying you don't know them, but clear enough to talk to them, talk to one and still talk to many.
I got you.
So I would go back to your client profiles and try to like really spell those things out, because that's what I hear more than anything. Because I promise you, I could do it. If you guys want to give me a topic, I'll write an email that I know will hit each and every one of you. Feel like I'm talking directly to you. because you guys are all kind of in the same space. So your clients or your customers need to have a commonality between them. That like line. All right. So does anyone have a process or a workflow? I know Chris says social media marketing, email marketing. Let me get one more.
Hi, it's
Hey.
Imani. I would say for me, it's finding potential clients. So like the research part of it, I think takes up a lot of time because we are relatively niche, looking for Black and Brown business owners.
Beautiful. I like that because I pulled up examples of my processes and stuff, and I actually have that. So, and I wasn't even thinking about it. It's not even up here, but basically that's sales. Everybody needs to do it, right? A way to manage your sales system or process. So hopefully you have a good one to start with, and then you can always build on it from there. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is identify the process. If you don't have one, I said I was going to give you guys ideas. So Gabby, you could do something like order fulfillment, right? So anytime an order comes in on Etsy or your store, make this thing happen, to give you everything you need in one place, if it's a lot of steps to do. Ashley, you could do client onboarding. Danielle, you could do content. So I know you have, I'm thinking about the hemp and fork people, but that's a client though. So technically,
that's client.
Right. So client management or client project management is definitely a workflow that I've built, and I can even show you that too. Let me write that down. In sales, I'm going to show you guys my own stuff towards the end, but just to give you guys some ideas. Victoria, same thing, order fulfillment. Kristen, client onboarding, managing all of your group docs, and member onboarding as well. And then Wendy, client management or like order, let's say even like all of your projects. Every time you get a new order in, what information do you need to have? I'm just giving you guys the first few steps that you can be thinking about in order for your husband to fulfill the orders. What does he need? Can we upload the files there to store everybody's stuff so that we can always come back to it later? We no longer have to look inside of random Google folders and stuff. So there's opportunities across. I'm just kind of spitballing to give you guys some ideas, but I want you to pick one. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to pause here. And what I want you to do is write down your ideal state or your current state. If you have no idea, let's just say, for example, for the sales one, if you have no idea of the steps, right, of what you would like to happen, just start with what is currently happening, and then we can improve as we go. Okay. So you're going to take that one workflow and you're going to break that down into steps, right? What happened? What's the trigger? What's the first thing that happens? Okay. And then what needs to happen after? Don't even think about tools. Don't think about systems. Don't think about anything like that. Just write down the steps. Like if you were to explain it to a 2-year-old and say, hey, little Johnny, I need you to do this, 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 and this. And that will get the podcast episode uploaded. This is what you're doing. All right. So I'm going to set 5 minutes on my timer. And I'll check back in. I'm gonna cut in real quick here, guys. Feel free to keep working, but Vicky, I saw your comment about adding contacts from training and emails. I'm assuming that's for the 20-minute training you guys do. So it's important, if it's a step of another process, just one step, do the entire process. So that's why I put training planning, because now that essentially completing that training should trigger that other one thing to happen, but it should have multiple steps. Okay. It'll make sense in just a second.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You can ask a question if you want, though.
Okay.
Hey, welcome. It feels like you just walked into like a yoga session. It's all quiet and stuff. What we're doing right now is we've identified one process or workflow that we want. This is super hands-on. One process or workflow that we want to streamline, automate, and just writing down the steps within that process. So let's just take like podcasting. You're gonna have the talking notes or the outline for podcast, the topic, getting a guest speaker potentially, but you're just gonna write down those steps. Okay.
Got it.
Perfect. We got like 2 minutes left on the clock, by the way, ladies. Why y'all want me to repeat myself? Hey, Yasmin. Give me 1 second. So everyone is, we got about 1 minute and 30 minutes left. What we need you to do is write down one process you want to automate, streamline, whatever process you have at the top of your mind, and then you're going to write down the steps. So just come up with like 3 to 5 steps. It can be however many. If it's a big process, we definitely need to automate it, Jesus. But write down whatever steps you need, and then we'll start from there. And I'm gonna take a volunteer as well. So just keep in mind, if you want to volunteer your process or workflow, let me know. There's about 30 seconds left, by the way. You guys didn't know you were coming to do work. Trust me, you'll thank me in the end. All right. So who can volunteer? I will call on people. Y'all know me.
I think I can go.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, so I decided to do Hemp and Fork, the cooking show, but there are a lot of steps. So if I'm giving you too much, tell me.
Hit me with it. Let's go.
All right. So every month I need to find a topic for the show. I need to research the topic, as well as research my talent and guests who will be on the show. I need to conduct outreach and recruit those individuals, create the marketing materials for the show, including biopics, etc. Draft the script and run of show. and hold a pre-production meeting prior to the show. Those are the major things that I have to do.
A lot.
And communicate via email with, the talent.
Okay, communicate what?
So asking for bios and pictures. I also create a social media schedule, asking them to, push it out on their individual social media channel, pages on certain days. And then the scheduling of the pre-production meeting. I think that's it.
Okay. The reason why I was laughing like that is because I had already wrote it and like she was saying it at the same time. So I was like, oh, you go, girl. So this is actually not a lot, which you will be very happy with. It's very similar. I have a couple processes that we do this too. It's very similar to our IG Live process. So looking at this list, I would have, let's just say if we were, well, actually I'm ahead of myself. So what are some opportunities in here that we're looking at as far as like streamlining? Like what would you say would make this a little bit easier? Or do you not have any idea? Because I got a lot, my brain's overwhelmed, but I want to prompt you first before I jump into it.
What would make it easier? Mm-hmm. Well, it would be easier if I had a bank of topics already, kind of teed up waiting for me. I've tried to do that for each quarter, but it would be great if I had that information for a year and I don't have to, do the research on each topic each month. Mm-hmm. It would be great if I had the emails that I have to send out to the guests, like already, drafts of those emails.
When you're talking about outreach, when you're the initial connect, or do you mean
both the outreach email and the once they're already confirmed, the confirmation, what's expected.
Is there any like call? Do you only handle that initial connection via email? You never meet with them first? Like I call it a collab call beforehand.
It depends on the person. Some I have met with them via Zoom prior to, yeah.
I'm just gonna call it what I call it for now, but we can call it connect.
But they always start as an initial DM or text or email.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go through step by step of what I see the opportunities being. And then when we hop into Trello, I'll take a note. Like basically I'm going to put a T on it here and then I can convert it into a card. I'll take a note to show you how to do that in Trello. But most of yours is going to be creating a card exactly like this, right? Which you probably have something similar. But what you could also do is repeat that card. So we talked a little bit about it the last session. So if you, let's just say you have a block on your calendar. So me personally, I would add a block to calendar to create the topic backlog. And backlog is just a list of stuff. Okay. You know what backlog is, you got PM background. So research, you can do a couple different things. You can do this in Trello. So I do this in a system. I'm just going to pull it in here. That was in my way. Sorry, Lexi. So I have it where automatically a card gets added to my list regardless. So basically, let me give you a quick overview of what this is doing. This is our exposure board. This is getting Chrissy booked on other people's podcasts, radio shows, YouTube interviews, all kinds of stuff. And this is all the stuff we be on. This is our board we use to manage it. I'll give a deep dive on my individual boards towards the end, but I'm bringing this up to show you something, Danielle. So let's just say if a month before you want to automatically create a card to remind you to do the research, you could, or just make a monthly thing. You could set up an automation. I'm going to show you how to do that when we get into the hands-on part of basically when a month before this date, remind Danielle to create the talking points for this particular. Once you have a date on an item, right? So this would say hemp and fork. Let's say smoothie recipes, right? Would be the topic, right? And you're gonna add a date of when the actual, let's say the actual show is, and then you can work backwards and figure out when you need to get that reminder just to make sure you're covered, or you could do all the research at that given point. So you have a couple different options. And this is why, guys, doing any kind of workshop on this, we have to get hands-on with it, just because it's very hard to, you have to kind of be in it to know what the opportunities are. So I'm gonna pause real quick for Angela. Angela, what we've already gotten so far is you just need to select one process or workflow that you're looking to automate, streamline using Trello, and then identify that ideal state. If you use what we already started last week, then you're actually ahead of us. But it'll be a great like build onto that if you want to use that one. But essentially what we're doing right now is I've taken a volunteer and we're going through her current state to see what the opportunities are and what we could build. So I'm gonna start taking notes up here instead. So we could add that recurring block to come up with the quarter. Let's just use quarter for now. Content. Essentially what you want to do, what the goal is to identify what can be done in that step to make it hands off from you, where things are just coming to you as they are needed. So right now, if it's something you got to remember every quarter or during quarterly planning, we do this. If you had a reminder to make sure that it is done, if you're not too good with your commitments yet, or getting all the tasks done, then this will automatically be your reminder, okay, instead of just having to remember it. And then your research, I mean, that's not really something you can automate. However, you can create resource list of sources. So this tends to happen to me. I'm going to save this for right now. But remember that inbox column we talked about? So if you were creating a board only for Hemp and Fork show, right, to manage all of the calendar, you could have a resource column and it could say, an inbox column, and it could say resource links. And I know for a fact, especially when we're talking about topics and stuff, if you're going to come across things that are very helpful and you're not going to have the best place to save it. So this card would be kind of one place so that every time you go to research, you're not starting from scratch. You're like, oh, I remember this thing, or oh, I remember that thing, or I always check this potential competitor, right? If there's certain people you're always looking at, if there's certain places you're going, like Pinterest, maybe Pinterest recipes or something like that. If there's certain places that you need to go on a regular, put them in your inbox column, and that will help at least streamline, not automate, but streamline that process of researching. So, you start there first. Maybe you set a 20-minute timer or something like that. I don't like to do a lot of research. I like to just get it done. But maybe you set a timer. And then the one recommendation I would make, if it applies to you, is build the run of show once you finish your research, because everything, you'll at least have like a flow of what it's going to look like, and it'll be fresh versus waiting for, and then at that point you're telling your guests, this is what we need you to do, instead of it kind of being more collaborative. So you can also do that after the fact, but I would recommend it while it's so fresh, depending on how deep your research is going on the topic. Does that make sense? So if you are like basically know exactly what you want to do, go ahead and build that like draft of your run of show. And then you can have another step down here, like run of show sign off, where all of your guests before the actual show happens, they sign off, and we all know. I've been on podcasts and like YouTube interviews. Sometimes they give me a run of show, and it's super helpful, because then I don't have to kind of think what's happening. I know exactly what they need me to do, what they need me to say, all that fun stuff. Research, guest, and talent. That's kind of like, maybe I would combine these two, right? So during your research block of time that you're going to have on your calendar now, you're going to research a topic. Maybe you find a topic. Topic shouldn't take super long. But if you find a topic in the first 10 minutes, now you're going to look up potential guests. And then you already talked about creating an email template for this outreach, and a DM template. Anything else you use that can make it copy and pasteable, that will save you so much time than drafting a new message. Pro tip, like Kristen, change out hey to hello to be personable in those messages. Don't be a robot. Funny story, when Miriam first came on with us and she was doing this work for me, the exposure board is basically like her board. She was like spamming everybody with the same like long message. Don't do that. Don't do that. Connect call, that could be something you add to your email template. So that's what we actually do. I'm gonna pick like 2 systems. I'm gonna let you guys pick 2 systems that you want me to go deep in. But what we do is when we connect for IG Live, we say, hey, there's no need to jump on a call with us, but if you want to, if you have questions, here's the link. And then it's always presented to the guest, and whether they do or don't, but it's now not a conversation we need to have of if we need to do it. It's just part of a system that already goes out. Your collect bio and photo, all of this stuff should be in that, maybe a confirmation email instead. Yeah, confirmation and next steps email template. That, by the way, you could trigger from Trello, so we'll talk about that. And then recruit, which that should be something you're doing. We already kind of talked about that. Creating the marketing materials, do you actually do it?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
so then that's just a quick simple step for you. But let's just say at some point when you want to build your team, that could be something you hire like a junior designer to do and just kind of pass that off. So now that, just thinking ideal state or a potential opportunity, right? You could create a card for them or create automatically assign them to this card if you chose to do it that way. However you choose to do it, there's different ways, but basically notify them like, hey, we need you to do these marketing materials, and just make sure all of the attachments, their bio and all of that is in there.
Speak it, it's coming. Speak it into existence.
Yes, and I can even, because I have it up already, I can show you. That's actually what we do. So if you see the last guest that signed up on our IG Live, her show isn't until January 26th. But if you see, she fills out an application. You could also do this as well in your process. So basically, everyone who joins our show fills out an application, and it triggers this card creation with all of the information needed for everyone to do what they need to do. We also send out a confirmation to the guests. That might be a really good one for me to go into at the end. But okay. And then let's see, pre-production meeting. That's just probably in your confirmation email. Social media schedule. It should automatically, maybe, it depends. Do you guys do them on a cadence, like monthly on the same day of the month every month?
We try to, but sometimes it varies. Like, last month, whatever month, this month it's going to be different.
And do they use a social media scheduler?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe this one is just a reminder to schedule that. And it could even, right, once you get that team member, it could be part of their checklist, right? Maybe you hire a VA who's okay with Canva, and it could be part of her checklist, right? Now I just need to create the marketing materials using a template that Danielle already created. Don't let your team figure it out. It takes too long. We don't have time for that. Otherwise, we're just starting all over. Create a template for it where she can plug in the photos. I'll show that after. And then you can have a checklist uploaded to their Sched, or I'm sorry, my scheduler is called Sched, to their scheduler.
Later.
Later. So upload it to later. Also keep in mind captions, hashtags, anything that you can streamline in that process. Like there might be certain hashtags that you always want to use, right? You're going to document it in her card where everything's all in one place. Okay. And then we have the scheduled pre-production already. You could automate that as well using something like Zapier, but we'll get into that in a second. And then this was, was a duplicate. So again, just kind of brainstorming different ideas. I would go back and watch the recording of just this bit, if this is something you actually want to put to the test. And then if you run into questions, you can always message me. But trust me, like brainstorming at a high level, all the opportunities, as you can see, there's so many paths. Yeah. And Angela realized this too. It's really just about what we want to try first, right? Yeah. One thing you should be noting when you're automating any workflow is that it's just a test. You guys will not believe, one time I created an automation and it ruined my team's board. it ruined it just because I didn't think of something. So like you're gonna make mistakes. There is no like perfect way to do this, right? So even when I'm doing it one-on-one with the client, we're still trying to figure out what they want to happen, which is why automation services are so custom. You can buy someone else's 1, 2, 3 process, but you're going to need to feed your own system into that. Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to go and have like something that's kind of completely different? Nothing that is like planning an event or hosting a show, getting guests. Kristen, you got one? Or Victoria, I saw you on mute. I'll just take one.
So I do a lot of the pre-event and post-event for our 20-minute trainings, which is mostly sending emails, sending recordings, and follow-up, and it takes up a lot of time.
Yes. So this is going to be, actually it's a good addition to this. So you're going to kind of be the same. So hold on, make a copy so you have your own. It doesn't feel like it to you, but I'll show you how in just a second. And Danielle, this might actually apply to you as well. So what you're saying is like, yeah, we got the planning checklist down, but what happens afterwards, right? So we have, and we do this as well on one of my boards, we call it post-production, right? So what is all the things that need to happen after? So let's just do this particular workflow for you. So what needs to happen after, once you hit end on that call, what needs to happen?
On the training?
Yeah, on the training. Once it's over.
Usually we do a debrief meeting. And then after that meeting, on the next workday, I have to get the recording off of Zoom. I have to get the registrants off of Zoom. I have to put together a spreadsheet with the registrants and then send the registrants and the Zoom recording to my coworker, and I have to put together an email for our speaker with the registrants and the recording. And then I also have to add all the registrants to our database and make sure there are no duplicates.
What database? Is it like an email platform?
It's a spreadsheet that we kind of got our mailer list off of, or our mailer list goes into that spreadsheet. I also have to add new contacts, new clients, all that.
Is this like in Google Contacts?
It's a spreadsheet, but yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is all on the same spreadsheet?
Yeah, all the registrants, all the clients, people we've worked with, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Then my coworker sends out an email blast with the recording and a newsletter. I don't do that though.
But what if it didn't go out? Would you be held responsible?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so then it is part of your list. So send email blasts to registers. I can't spell, y'all. Do not judge my spelling. Okay, I don't know what that says. All right, so let's start from the top. So is the debrief meeting right after? Okay, so it doesn't need to be scheduled. So I'm gonna delete that. I had a feeling, but I wanted to make sure. What is the agenda of the debrief?
Things that went well, things that we could do better, and ideas for our next one as far as process.
Oh, okay, improvements.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good idea to do. So you have an agenda for that. Where do the notes for that go?
We usually have them recorded so that we can go back to them.
Okay. So one thing I would recommend, because this meeting is very actionable, it's very intentional. It's not just like in my mind, the debrief, what I was thinking originally was more something like, okay, guys, well, this was great. Any feedback from the podcast host, the guest, and then you kind of just end it there. Like, I was thinking it's more like that kind of debrief, but this is more.
No, it's all internal.
Yeah, gotcha. So I would figure out the agenda, have that really clear, and whatever needs to happen after that meeting. So I'm going to assume there are going to be things that you can improve on in the future that are huge, right? That can't be done really quick. And there are going to be like improvements that are like quick hits. So you might have a list to add. This could be part of your meeting agenda as well, like once the call ends, but add, I know you guys use Trello, add improvements, action cards or something to Trello. So just because the way that retro should work, you should always come up with the actionables and then track those items and make sure they're actually getting done, and updating any documentation that needs to be updated. All that needs to kind of happen after that meeting. So I'm just trying to look for anything that's missing. Okay. Just to be more realistic, because what we don't want is things to kind of still fall through the cracks.
Okay.
So this could all be part of your agenda, right? And if you really wanted to streamline that as well, if you could, because I know your trainings are always the same day. Let's just say the training is on, let's say it's from 2 to 2:30. You could have the debrief from 2:30 to 3:30. And then you could have your little like final, like a block on your calendar to do the debrief after work, I guess. You could have that right after while it's still fresh. And you don't have to go back and watch a recording to remind yourself. So if you pile it all up like that, at least now it's done. And then these other items, these are really easy to automate. Okay. So upload the recording. Go ahead.
Hypothetically, what if I'm not attending the training, but I have to do it afterwards? So I have to watch the recording anyway and the debrief.
I think it's still the same. You're just not there.
Okay.
You're just just the goal is just to make sure it gets done. So to automate this piece, it would be creating a recurring block on your calendar that works for you and your time. So that actually happens to us, like Chiggy for our projects in the creative agency. She sometimes can't make it to sessions. So she knows I have a central location that all of the Zoom recordings are. I'll show it to you.
Yeah, we have one too.
You have a spreadsheet?
Oh, nope, I do not. I am not that good.
I was gonna say I built this, so I doubt you got it, girl. But this, not to say that you can't build it, because you definitely can. I built this in Zapier, but basically what this does, and this is very easy for anyone to do. If you are recording your calls, you can set up a Zap where Zapier will look into Zoom for a new recording. When a new recording is uploaded, it automatically adds it to the spreadsheet. So now whenever my team needs it, everyone has access to this. So like if Angela says, hey, I need our strategy session from whenever, Lexi's able to get it. Chiggy's, any one of my team's able to grab it.
Ain't right. You've been holding out on me, girl.
Right, that's a good idea.
So Gabby, do you see what I mean? I was talking to Gabby earlier about the digital products that I have, and
Yeah.
I was like, I build them for myself, but people be like, I need that.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a spreadsheet, but what I mean about holding out is, well, I have a spreadsheet, but yours ain't as fly as mine. But the Zap.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I know.
Okay. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Just automating that happening instead of having to go and grab it out.
Right.
To be perfectly honest, y'all, I automated that because anyone who's had to grab a recording from Zoom knows it is too many clicks. So why do they make it so difficult? You have to go in there, go to meetings, go to recordings, find the date, and the search does not work properly. I'm like, forget this. We'll dump them all into a spreadsheet automatically. So
that's why I got excited, because
exactly. Exactly, because this is again the mindset I want you guys to have around automating your processes and your workflows. Now, this is not a workflow. However, it's a small action. And we talked about this in the beginning. It's a small opportunity that saves me and my team, because now my team can access it as well. It saves us a lot of time, just a simple automation. That's 2 steps. When Zoom releases a recording, add it to the spreadsheet. That's it. The spreadsheet is not supposed to be like pretty or anything, because it's just something for them to update. The only thing is, just so you guys are aware, so that you don't spin your wheels trying to do it, these names are not updated automatically, because how I use my Zoom, it's always the same Zoom call. So it's my personal meeting space. And so that's what it will say every single time.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you use the same Zoom, it's not going to work and look as pretty as this. So our workaround is Miriam, at the end of every week, she goes and fills out the TBDs based on my calendar. So she pulls up the spreadsheet. She looks at who I was supposed to be meeting at 1 o'clock, or she just plays it a little bit, and then she puts the name of it there. So that's how it gets updated from week to week. So these are the calls I've been on so far this week. So you can kind of, she could still, it was just more helpful to have the names right there rather than trying to click into each of them to find them. So regardless, you could at least have the recordings. If it's always the newest one you need, then maybe you don't need this column. But I found it really helpful. I know Lexi uses it as well. So
cool. I also try to keep our 20-minute training Trello updated. I have cards for each month.
Okay.
Is there a way to have things automate into Trello?
Yep, we're gonna get into that in just a second.
Cool.
So we'll use you as an example, because I want to know, I have a lot of questions, but I just want to get through the rest of your stuff just to give you opportunities. So this, I don't know if you can pull from Zoom. I mean, automatically, because I don't have that need, but you could easily, I shouldn't say easily, but you could use your Wix website or a Google form for registering instead, and have those automatically pull from those sources and into your Trello card automatically. So you can do lookups in all of these tools, like Zapier. You can do lookups in those. And you can say, even in Trello, you could say, find this card and add this stuff to the card. But if you want to stay in Zoom, I would have to look in to see if Zoom releases that information to Zapier. Sending this to immediate opportunity I see is to combine these 2 emails. If there's information inside of the coworker email that doesn't need to be inside of the main email for everyone, then that should just be stuff on the repeating Trello card for him to complete the task. Does that make sense? So this is one email, and they're referring to that email that you sent an update to everyone, and anything that's specific to the actual task belongs in the card for them to do the actual work.
Yeah, no, the only reason we have it separated is because the email to the speaker is also like a thank you.
That's okay. Just CC them on it.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Instead of sending it to 2 different people, just CC them on it, and know that they should know anytime they get this thank you email what they need to do with it. Okay. Update register database. This is definitely an automation, but I would need to know what it's actually doing and how you're using it. And then send the email blast. That's going to be something that's a little bit more custom, but I would at least build a template that you could feed things through.
Yeah, I think Zoe has her own system for that.
Okay. So then maybe this for you then is just a reminder, confirm email sent, and you could make that where it either automatically reminds you, or just make sure you have your card up to date as well. Okay. Let's hop into Trello now. So I just use them as an example of like all the opportunities, but I'm gonna hop back and forth between the 2, but I'm gonna start with Vicky. So Vicky, you were saying something about a card. What were you saying about Trello?
So I have a card for each training, and I try to put all the resources on each card so that way everyone involved has them. So I put the link to the Zoom. I try to put email templates. I didn't put them in this month though.
Okay. So then that's just going to be the same card. So
Yeah.
I'll show you an example.
Now, hypothetically, we have this thing called a speaker form. Every time a speaker fills out a form, is there a way to get it so that the form goes into Trello in that specific card?
Yeah.
Or is that too?
Yes. And Lexi's shaking her head because she knows. Yes, there is. So basically, if you're looking for a specific card, you're going to be using Zapier.
Okay.
So I can tell you what the steps will be so you at least know the foundation. So the trigger is going to be, okay, so although it's a Google form, I recommend doing it this way. Create a sheet or a sheet for all of the form responses first. And then you're going to, when a new row is added to that response sheet, so this is another step, find Trello card. And then the third step is add whatever you want to the Trello card. So update card.
Okay, so create a sheet for the form. I have one. I just got, I'll figure that out. And then you said the trigger is a new row on the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And then where's it going?
Then you're going to look up the Trello card. So it's going to be click Trello, and then it's going to tell you all your things you can do. And it's going to be look up or find. I can't remember. They switch them out sometimes. And then after that, you're going to create a Trello card. And this really goes for everyone. And I have it in my notes to say later anyway. So essentially what this means is if you need to feed Trello anything, right? If you don't want to have to manually create the card or create the card on a regular basis, say it's something random, right? If you have a guest, if you have, like this is for you, Danielle, as well. Even for you, it could be also Ashley, if you are doing client onboarding. If this person pays and you want to automatically create a card in Trello, you're going to be using Zapier, because basically in Zapier, it allows you to specify a trigger, which is the first action, what kicks it off. It allows you to specify that, in any tool. I won't say any tool, but most tools, right? Stripe, PayPal, Google Forms, whatever action they're taking last. And we talked about this as well in the last workshop. So check out the recording, Vicki, but it basically talks about, and I saw that you still need it, so I'll make sure I send it to you, but we talked about what kicks off a flow and identifying, being clear about what needs to happen first. That's that trigger.
Okay. Now, each individual needs to go to a different card. So would it be easier to, instead of manually making the cards, trigger it so that each time a new row is created, that it makes a new card, and then I can just go in and edit it?
You're only going to do the first row, and it will create. If you needed to look up something in that form submission, needs to always be familiar. You'll see when you get in there.
Okay.
That's why I say, like, anything Zapier and stuff, it gets a little bit more complex, and Zapier is not the fastest tool to load on Zoom from experience. Yeah. Otherwise, I would just show you. But essentially, anytime that anyone wants to make Trello do something from somewhere else, you have to use Zapier. So that's a good segue into my next few tips. So essentially, what needs to happen elsewhere, which I've given them both examples. So some things that is for everyone is email templates. I do them two different ways, actually. My team has seen these. So email, we have I can't spell. We have this baby right here. So this is a email template. We have one for Boss Bitch as well, but essentially it has a drop down where it will go down to the template, the subject line, and all that. And this is shared with my team. Or if it's something for you, right, as that solopreneur, you don't need to go through all of that work. And even this is a pro tip for Lexi too. Lexi, you can add your templates to your template manager in Boss Bitch, in your Boss Bitch email. But anyways, as myself, you can go in here, or I tend to have my own templates that I use a lot that my team doesn't need access to. And so they're inside of Gmail. So how you're going to do that is say something like, this is my template And then when you go into the bottom 3 dots right here, go to templates. You won't have to scroll down because you won't have as many as me. And you're just going to go save template. Save as a new template. I'm not going to do that because I have way too many. So those are 2 options. The other ones is, of course, putting blocks of time on your calendar if you use your calendar. Don't put a block there if you don't use your calendar. Be realistic. If you're not looking at your calendar, don't put a block there to remind you. And then repeating reminders as well as in Trello. So we talked about this whenever that workshop was. We talked about adding repeaters. Hold on one second. I think we added it here. So let's just say, if it's something you always have to do on a regular basis. So Danielle, or we're going to use you as an example. If every time you build your backlog of topics, or let's say your research, because we used that earlier. So we could call this Danielle's topic research task. And then you're going to say, look up topic. Maybe the output of the research, because research is not really an actionable thing. You want to have some type of output out of the research, which it might be like writing that run of show, or if it's not that, it might be write the description of the show, something like that. But basically, let's just say now that she has that complete list of everything she needs to do to complete this task, you can make it a repeating card on Trello, where it automatically does it on a regular basis. So again, this is a power up, and we touched on it last week, but when you're adding power ups, you can go in the card and just go add power ups. There are certain ones that, oh, did they take that away? It might be there for you guys. I'm not sure because I pay for Trello now, but you can do the card repeater. And then if you go out, let me close this real quick. Once you've added, I can't add it obviously because I already have it. But once you add it, you can then make it repeat at any time. I do this for my team's weekly checklist. I do this for my own Monday planning. I do this for my content strategy. I make it repeat every quarter. I do this for, I think that's it as far as like repeatables. I don't use it as much. Oh, we do it for our IG Live securing guests. So we have a task that repeats every month to secure at least 2 or 4 guests for the next month or for the next quarter or something like that. Just basically put out a few feelers. So that's something that we do on a repeatable basis. So we know we're just always building our guest and not ever just waiting and rushing at the last minute. But that's how you use the repeatable. All right, and then what I'm gonna get into now, I'm gonna spend like the last, say, half an hour going through my own boards to give you guys some inspiration, but I want to call out certain automations I know you might need. So when you're talking about workflows, it's not gonna be the same flow per se. It's gonna change right up in here. So let's just say if we're talking about a content, right? What we haven't talked about is social media, because I know I talk about it all the time. So say this is your backlog of ideas, right? This could, let's say you do content on a, I don't know, let's say monthly basis, which is technically accurate, but I like to change mine to planned. And anything in the planned column, I always put dates on, because now this is official things that is supposed to be scheduled real soon. All right, so I'm gonna put dates on all these. So from here, what needs to happen to our social media, like let's say workflow, right? Everyone knows social media, so that's why I'm using that as an example. What needs to happen once you've got the content, let's say plan the topic and the date? Oh shoot, I'm neglecting the chat, y'all. Sorry. What was that? Someone unmuted and said something?
I was saying write the copy, do the graphics, captions, hashtags. Or if you're doing videos, recording, writing your scripts.
Reels?
So we have copy, caption, graphic, hashtag, and if you're doing a video, or I heard someone say reels, then you need a script. So you might have a automatic template that triggers in Trello, and that automatically adds you to prompt these things. I can show you how this looks, but obviously to build it right in front of you would take a lot of time, but I can show you how it looks. Give me 1 second to pull up. Oh, I had it up. I clearly do not. 1 second. So we used to do this when we were doing content on a monthly/bi-monthly basis, but now we do content on a quarterly basis in a real like batch form, so we don't really track a ton of content creation on the actual board, but I can still show you how it looks because the automation is still set up. So you're gonna have a, let's just use IG, a static post as an example, right? And this is what we actually used to use on the team. And if you guys have bought my content planner, then you know that you can connect it to that and it automatically feeds all these fields that are necessary. So essentially, oops, sorry guys. So this is the description of everything we need, right? So I have different things like team focus in mind, but you want to think about these things. Anytime that someone asks you questions on your team, my own content management system was set up in a way that anybody, because very often we had different graphic designers help us, anybody could come in and grab a card and get it done, right? So it's not that someone would need to know, oh, I need to know where to store it, how do I save it? All of the information was all in one place. So you see, I have file name conventions. This is where you store it. How to upload their versions, and post copy. So we do carousel. So there's always at least 10 slides, or not at least, up to 10 slides. Post caption was also here. Stop writing your captions inside of your scheduler. Stop writing your captions inside of your scheduler, because if something happens, you lose your caption. Oh, I just rhymed. Bars. Someone needs. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. But yeah, stop writing your captions in there. So some of this stuff is so custom to me, guys, and this is why you're going to build your process. Start with the bare minimum first and then grow it. So post specific hashtags. Each of the content creator or the graphic designer, because we had different people doing it at one point, they knew that they needed to provide at least 5 post specific hashtags. So if you're using hashtag templates or groupings and you're creating those, and just maybe got 6 of those across your entire platform, you know at least 5 of the hashtags will be unique to this particular post. So what this looks like is, let's say we're talking about social media. I might hashtag social media strategy, hashtag blah, 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 versus the other hashtags and the template. I'll pull up an example for you guys. Hashtag template, again, this is super custom, but just ignore that for now. Any accounts that you need to tag, let's say if you did a guest or it's you're promoting that 20-minute training, you can put their account in here so that whoever's scheduling the content always has it. And I recommend, even if you are doing it yourself, to still build these systems, because when you need help, it's so much easier. Now it's just join this board and follow instructions, and not, oh no, now I have to teach you how to do this thing. Pro tip, and I talked about this in my training with AIB as well. If you're thinking about like hiring someone and you don't have this built already, don't hesitate, just have them help you build it. So for example, if I didn't have a social media content creator, graphic designer, nothing, I would have them write down everything in the card and then format it the way I want. And we would build off of that initial template. You can use your team to help you document. I mean, that's why they're there. Right. That's it. So I had an instruction here because I like to see and this is really good for Angela, by the way, but I like to see the cover card, just looking at it. So let's say the thumbnail, the thumbnail in Instagram, I would want to see it on the board as a card cover, right? Which again, a card cover is just an image like this. So I would want to see that every time. And so there was a note at the bottom that says, please make sure you put the cover so I can see it. And I'm going to show you guys how this looks. Hopefully I have one. I just archived. This board was loading really slow. I think I'm like her new Trello, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me think of something. Website. I know we talked about a website. Let me try to find one real quick. Because it's going to be much easier if you see it all filled in. But we haven't used this process in so long. There's one. Okay. And you see it even looks different. We simplified it because my team was pretty like, at one point we were just rolling this stuff out and didn't need all the instruction, or this could have been something before I added the instruction. But this is the copy. This is the caption. These are the post specific hashtags. So anyone, I could give this to any of you and you would know exactly what to put, what to schedule. You would know when it's due by, when it's supposed to be actually scheduled by. You would know the hashtag template to use. You would know the content theme if you needed it, and what color the graphic was supposed to be based on our layout. So you have all this information available to you auto-magically. Now, what I will say is if you are not paying for Trello yet, they removed custom fields as a power-up and now made it a paid feature, which is silly. Got a bone to pick with them. But if you are trying to add something auto-magically, just instead add it as a label. So I would do something like, I do this all the time. So I'll do hashtag template, and what did it say? Web design. I would do hashtag template web design as a label, and I would make all my hashtag template labels all the same color so that I can easily see, okay, this is the hashtag template web design. And so the information is still there essentially. So if you don't want to pay for Trello, I honestly wouldn't recommend it unless it's a pretty hard pill to swallow unless you get a good deal. But if you don't want to pay for Trello, then maybe just add a label instead of a custom field. There's also another plugin. I haven't tested it, but I'll throw it out there just in case you want to play with it. Let me know if you have success. It's called Amazing Fields. I know the free version allows you to do, I think, up to 2 fields like this, and you get to make them look a lot better too. But you can do much more customization with that, and it might be cheaper to just buy that power up instead. Amazing Fields is the name of it. It might be cheaper to try that out. But as you can see, all of the graphics were in here for me to review. This is how it will look on the board. And so we were able to, going back to this now, once, so we had, our process was like this. Hold on. So our copy. So at one point, our copywriter was writing copy, and our graphic designer and who was actually scheduling were 2 different people. So let's say graphic, not graphic designer in progress. So this is how our board looks. And this is the same process we use for clients as well. I'll show you one in a second as well. Caption. So what you would do, like, let's just say these are different people, and automation that you could do is when this moves here, you can assign that person. So only when they're ready and they're due to actually work on that task is when it would move into this column and get them notified on there. Because it doesn't make sense for them to have a bunch of notifications before then, maybe, especially when you're talking about getting here. Let's say if this was a task to schedule it, let's say your VA is scheduling and it's not the graphic designer or the copywriter, you can only add her here or him there. Okay, so you can add it at different steps. Some other common automations that you can use is automatically adding checklist. So again, Danielle, and also for Vicky as well, these checklists that we have in here, if every time you created a card with a specific name, you wanted to automatically add this checklist, you can do that. There's a couple different ways to do it. This is why automations gets tricky, guys. The way I recommend though, is you create a card called checklist templates in your inbox column. You build the checklist in here. This is my checkity check. And then let's get into automations. I'm gonna create a rule. And I'm just, for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'm gonna like use a generic rule. Basically, any new card, not look for a name or anything. So when a new card, oh, hold on. Did I click? Okay, yeah, I'm tripping. Here we go.
I think she's frozen, y'all. Chrissy.
Okay, so it's not me.
Nope, it's not. She's frozen. Up, now she's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know. It just completely cut out. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, so it stopped. You stopped right when you were checking. Yeah, see, we missed all that.
I stopped where? I didn't hear you.
At the very beginning.
So you didn't see any of getting into here, the checklist?
Nope.
Are you kidding me? No, I'm just kidding. All right, we can go back. So did you see this, the checklist template?
This is my checky check. Is that
Yeah.
it? Yeah, we saw you create that, and then you went in to make the rule.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure.
And right when you clicked that,
and it went out.
And as soon as it came up, you paused for a minute to make sure you were in the right place or something, and then that was it.
Okay, that's cool. I wasn't that far in then. It didn't cut off for too much. So I was adding a trigger to a rule, and I'm going to do when a new card, but it just says when a card is added to the board. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and then you're going to go to checklist. Name your checklist so you know what it is. So this would say podcast checklist if it's a podcast. This is when being funny does not help you. And then you're gonna go from card link name. Darn it. I am gonna pull this board up in another board. Give me 1 second. Because basically what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the link. Never use the name because the name can change. It'll immediately break your automation. So basically I'm saying add the name of this checklist from this card. And it says you can use the name, but don't use the name because what if you change it? So unless you know you'll never change the name, then you can just put the name there. But I'm gonna add this link so that Trello can help me as much as possible. The name's in the link, but it's still a unique link that will always go to this card.
Whether we change the name of the card or not? Okay.
Correct. Yep. And then if you want to rename the checklist, you can. I'm not going to. But let's go ahead and save that. And let's just add a new card. And if we set that up right, we should see the checklist has been added. So you can do that. And if you want to set it up where it looks for a specific card, you're going to use that filter. Let me hop back in here real quick so you guys can see that because that's actually very important. Let's just say Danielle is managing these shows. I think they're shows to you. That's why I'm doing this, not in a snarky way, but she's managing the shows in one place with all of her other work. So she doesn't want to do every single card with the same checklist. You're going to need to do like a filter. So let's go back to, sorry guys, I got a lot of automations. So I'm gonna use the same one. I'm gonna delete the trigger. It's gonna ask me to add a new trigger. So we're gonna use the same exact trigger. However, now we need to use this filter. So we're gonna say content, I think it's under. So when a new card is added with a name starting with, let's say podcast show. Now I'm going to make that the filter, save it. All right, so I'm going to say other work, right? Another task. Not going to add it, but the minute I add podcast show, if I spell it right, it should add it. Boom. So anytime you see that little filter icon, which literally looks like a funnel, That's when you can get more specific about what you're looking for in Trello. Okay. We talked about repeater cards. Another thing that's common for you to automate, let's just say you want, and I talked about this last week or the last workshop as well. Let's just say you want to automatically get a reminder, let's say 2 days before it's due. You can set up another automation. Again, I said this last time, Trello is doing a lot of things to Butler, which is the automation tool. So you have to just click into there to see all of the options, because that first view doesn't give me what I need. That's why I'm saying this. So that first view only says those 3 options: rules, buttons, and email reports. However, what I'm looking for is going to be a due date. Okay, so I can say, you see this one already kind of has it, 2 days before a card is due at 6:30. I want you to post a comment saying this card is due in 2 days. Please update the card or move to in review. And that's something we actually use on our team. Okay, so I'll go over all the differences between these in just a second, but let me just get through some common things I know you guys might want to set up. You can automatically order cards on a board. Let's say sometimes your plan column gets a little crazy. You could create a board button that you can push. Let's go to board button. I'm gonna go here instead because I want to show you what one looks like. And if you, I mean, they put it in this weird text. However, if you just slow it down, you can kind of read what it's doing. But when I click sort by scheduled date, it's gonna sort the cards in each list by scheduled date ascending. So essentially it's the same steps. So when I hit this button, you don't need a trigger for this because the trigger is the button. When I hit the button, do these actions, and you can specify whatever actions you want. So this one is not set up for a due date, so I can't test it because not everything in this board has a scheduled date. But if you have questions when you go to set this up, let me know. You could even do it for like planning. So on my own board, which I didn't talk about last time, I have a automation that runs every week, I believe, to move all the cards that are in the this month column within this date. Or no, I have a button at the top of the board, same thing. So I click the button. Here, I'll just show you guys. So I'm gonna ruin my board. So if I click this button, just for you guys, this is a sacrifice. If I click this button and I go to this week's focus, it's gonna move everything that's due to this week into this column. With some of my stuff don't have due dates, so just notice it's gonna ignore those, but see it's moving them. And it's also gonna move anything in this column as well. So now it's moved those to the top, it looks like. I don't know how it moved them randomly. It moved them just over here. This must have been the bottom of it, but essentially it moves everything. You guys saw them kind of disappearing from this list. It's because it's moving them. So you can set up something like that as well. And lastly, you can set up, which I'll show you this in this board. You can set up an automation where your team, which we'll talk about this in the next workshop, like what certain things you need to be using for your team. So I have an automation on every single board that when someone clicks this button, let me put my board in here so you guys can see what happens. Hopefully it works because we were having issues with it. Oh no, we weren't, we figured it out. I remember now. But basically when someone clicks Chrissy review, I added this where a status, we were messing with it earlier, but I added it as a status. So it adds a comment that the automation has been run because I wanted my team to know, okay, a card's been added to my board, but it also adds, let's find it, review reel, ladies and gentlemen, it adds a link to that card and some other things too. So it's a perfect segue into Trello Variables. I'm going to send a link in the chat for you guys all to have. Give me 1 second. Click this. how I was able to tell Trello what to put in there uniquely, right, is using Trello variables. So basically in the Butler automation, when you create that new card in your description, you have to use these kind of values to pull different things. You can pull in the description, you can pull in who's on the card, you can pull in lots of things. I'm gonna throw this into the chat right now for you guys. I would definitely bookmark this for sure. The chat keeps bouncing around on me. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna spend the last few minutes kind of walking through different processes and things that I use. So what have you guys seen me show today that you want to see more of, and a deeper dive of what we're doing to just help get those juices flowing? I'm sure I showed certain boards where you were like, it would be great if I could do that. So what are those boards? And I'll spend the next 5 minutes or so. And then of course, you guys can also ask questions if you don't know, or if you don't want to see anything. I not don't want to, but you don't remember which board. Are there any questions? Hey, Rhonda.
Hi.
Hi.
How y'all doing?
Good, good.
I just finished my hula hoop class, so I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We're literally just wrapping up, so I'll make sure we'll send you the recording.
Okay,
But
thanks.
is there any questions that you for sure had that you want to throw out there?
I forgot, what was this one about tonight?
It's about automating workflows.
No, I need the IG one.
Yes, yes. Lexi and I talked about that today.
I mean, I need this too, but
we got you covered.
I just need a tutor.
Angela, Kristen, Gabby,
Yeah.
Wendy, do you guys
Well, part of it is I came in late. It's been a client day from hell. I did have, I think I figured it out when you were going through the rules, but I gotta test it because I'm not even sure, like I'm not even sure that I have the question, if that makes sense.
Well, what are you trying to do? What are your goals?
So when I'm still sort of writing it out, but basically, because I have multiple workflows. So the easiest workflow, the most simplest is right now, because I'm starting to build things simply, is the podcast workflow. But what's most pressing is my content workflow. So the repeating task is what the templates and the repeating task. So I can't remember if I saw the template part in Gmail or if it was Trello.
Mm-hmm. So
sorry, go ahead.
The template part for.
So I'm template heavy, and so I felt like I heard, because I know Gmail does templates, but I felt like I heard you say Trello does templates, but I'm not sure if I'm twisting it with creating a template card and setting that on repeat for tasks that repeat.
Gotcha.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure.
I got you. That's a good point. So just so you guys know, I'm looking over here because my cameras are over here because I'm sharing my screen. So just bear with me on that. I realize I'm like looking over here. So what you're saying is you want, there's two different things. Oh, I must have added that. I was tripping for a second. So there's two different things. If you want to create the same card on a repeating basis, you don't need to use Gmail or anything. So let's just say this is our marketing strategy. Okay. I'm adding this for a reason. And then I'm going to also add some attachments. I do this a lot, by the way, a lot. So I'm going to add a picture of this lady. And then I'm also going to add a checklist, stuff, and more stuff. So what happens if you turn this onto, I'm gonna remove the cover. But what happens when you turn this on to repeat? I'm gonna say weekly, every Sunday, actually, let's do every Tuesday at 7:30, but I'll show you what it looks like before then. And then I want to put it in my cat graphic in whatever, the top of this column. And let's see, I'm going to save this and hopefully save it in time. But regardless, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you want to like repeat it before. So what you're going to do, well, actually, let's just wait for it so that you guys can see it's working. But essentially what it's going to do is going to make an exact copy of everything in that card. Here's the power in this. I want to show you guys the power in this real quick while we're waiting on it. So no matter what, if the process changes, you just come to this one card and change the checklist, and it will always change it for future. Great example is for Boss Bitch onboarding. So we got like 60 seconds. I'm gonna pull this card up real quick so you guys can see it. Just a few seconds for it to come in. No, I should have put 29. I was scared. I didn't want to have to do it over because I do this testing stuff, my own stuff, when I'm building my own automations. But once it goes in there, you guys will see. Just a second. I'm gonna move this here. Okay, well, you guys will know if it popped in there, it popped in there. So I'm gonna move on for a second. But so we had not an issue, but we realized that our onboarding checklist wasn't hug all premium. I don't know why it says that. You added that, Lexi. I did not add that. Come here, premium members. I'm like, why does it say that? What is that supposed to say? Lexi added that. Lexi, I don't know what that is. Fix it.
What are you doing?
Hug them. But anyways, now that she's added hug all premium members to the checklist, when we get a new one, it's gonna always, I'm just gonna do it from here, from this template place. It's gonna always be in that checklist, no matter what. So that's the powerful thing about having like these templates or these repeating cards. You update it in one place and for future, not past. So if there's one already on your board, it won't update it. But if you update it and then a new one comes in, it will always be there. So that's why you'll see on our exposure board, we have a lot of templates. We have this pre-production planning. We have our collab agenda checklist in here. We also have the post-production, what needs to happen after the podcast is recorded. So this checklist, no matter what we do to it, will always update for new ones that come in.
Okay, and so, okay, I feel like I caught it again. So does Trello, can you house templates in Trello as well? Can you, wait, I didn't say that right. Forget the as well. Can you house templates in Trello?
What kind of templates?
Like the cards.
Yeah. So any card, that's really great that you said that. So any card.
Because that was my original question. I remember, I felt like, I couldn't remember if you were talking about templates in Google only, or if you were talking, and if that's the case, well, I know that already, but I felt like you were talking about templates in Trello, and I was trying to see, I wasn't sure if I was looping.
Yes,
okay.
You can. So what you're going to do is you're going to go down to the bottom card where it says actions, and then you go make template. And what this does is you can want to automate this, but you can also, when you're in a specific board, you can just hit this icon whenever you're going to make one, and it will always give you all of your templates. That's why you saw in Lexi's board, she got hella templates. Like,
okay, I did. Okay, so I did. Okay. Hold on. Okay. I thought I was having a moment. Okay, so like, no, she was talking about Google, not. Okay.
No, I probably did say Trello, because Trello does have its own templates, card templates as well. You also have board templates. There's a lot of different templates, all the things.
I have never noticed that.
Yeah. It saves a lot of time too. So we've talked a lot about automations and streamlining things, but what if you just want to create the same card just randomly whenever? Right. So you want a list
too. I want to do that too.
Exactly. So this at least will give you a checklist of things to do. Yeah, I use repeating cards.
Okay, so you can take an existing card and make it a template.
Yep.
And then you can take that template and, if necessary, repeat it.
Correct. You can do both. So template allows you to, and I'm gonna pause right here for a second because I know we're at time. So I want to thank each of you for coming and hanging out with me. If you have questions when you're going to implement some of these things, as I know you will, because automations, again, is something very custom to your specific workflow. But if you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit to answer any questions or to dive in deep if you guys want to see something or examples of anything. I'm going to be here for about the next 10 minutes or so. Okay. But I want to set you all free if you so be it. Or you can hang out with us too if you want to hear what other people ask and learn from the answers. Okay. So Angela, were you about to say something else?
I was, but I forgot because I was listening. I mean, well, sort of listening, but.
No, I get it.
Yeah. I got you. So I did. Hopefully it'll come back to me.
Hopefully. I know if not, we have a call tomorrow. So
hopefully this soon to be 54-year-old brain will remember before the call, but I will. Okay. So I never noticed the template part. Because we're sketching out our templates, and because we're sketching out our workflows, and yeah, so I'm trying to figure, because I haven't used a lot of the power-ups, just the due dates, which are now let's see. Okay. All right. So I think, this is good. So timely.
Gabby, Vicky, do you guys have any? Rhonda, Aisha?
Yes. No questions.
Okay. Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Ready for that Zap workshop, man.
Ooh. Zap workshop. That's what I was going to say. When is that?
Sorry, I forgot I was off mute. Sorry, Chrissy. Didn't mean to get you in trouble.
I'm like, Zap
can I just get through the Trello workshop, y'all? Sorry.
Right. Do you guys see how difficult it is to talk about some of these things because they're so very custom? So like when people ask me, what can I do? I'm like, you can do whatever you want. The world is your oyster.
Is there a standard workflow for onboarding a team member? Because I don't think I've used workflow. I know I had a Trello board. I started with a list of all the things that I wanted to happen. I grew the list as we added more people, but I've never used workflow. And I keep hearing it and seeing it show up in places. So what is it? That may be going backwards.
No, you're good.
It's a process. Oh.
Yeah, no, she's right. But I want to clarify. So what I mean by workflow, there's no Trello workflow per se. It's just a board that is centered around a specific process or just a process in general. It doesn't have to be a board. So for example, you're going to have one card that represents all the steps needed in order to onboard that member. And so that might be part of the process, but you might have things outside of Trello that needs to happen as well. But you at least want, I recommend at a very minimum, making sure that you have one card to represent the project or body of work when you're starting to automate things. So if there's certain things, yours are going to be a little bit different because this is, again, very specific. There are certain things that you can push back onto your team, and there are certain things that you can make easier. So a lot of times when we're automating a system, you don't want to, that's why I said identify current state or ideal state, because with this particular, what she's talking about, there's a lot of access sharing. There's a lot of documentation sharing. Maybe you're sharing a welcome video or something like that. There's going to be a lot of very custom pieces. but you can still look for those opportunities to streamline that. And maybe, and so discern the difference between streamline and automate. Streamline just means it's going. And maybe it needs somebody to help push it a little bit. So maybe it's that VA that you trust coming in and always doing the access management. They go through and complete the checklist, right? Someone who has access to everything, right? And then if it's automation, then there's no real way to automate adding a user to something, because that's unsafe. You would not want that to happen.
Right.
It's certain systems you can, but it's tricky depending on what it is. But you could also make your onboarding process completely off of you and onto the person. So you could create a card for them, and it's for them to ensure they have access to certain things. It's for them to click this link and access everything right away. You could make it where it's something that's a little less time consuming for you.
Got it.
But there's no
you're right. It's not Trello that I heard workflow was MailerLite. When I was in MailerLite, it was saying it could help with workflow. So
yeah, everybody's saying workflow, but all workflow is just process. There's no such thing as even a MailerLite workflow either. They're just saying if you have a process, which we use this as well. So we have automations inside of a MailerLite that get triggered, right? I showed you guys last call, and I know 2 of you weren't, or 3 of you weren't here, but I showed a process for BossFish and what it looks like and how it's automated. So it gets handed from Zapier, it gets handed off from when they purchase the subscription. Then we get a notification in Slack. We don't need to do anything to it. A card is created for Lexi to maintain and check off all the things, make sure things are being done. And then it also, what else? It sends the member an email, because we kick it off we add the subscriber or the person into MailerLite, and based on that ad and how we add them, it triggers an email in MailerLite. So that's what MailerLite is speaking to, is the automation piece. Everybody's using a word that no one really has, like a workflow, but you can build an automation or a system, like things to happen. That's what they mean by that. That's a good question though, because it does sound like I'm talking about a thing. There is workspaces in Trello.
Yes.
Okay. Any other final questions? You guys want to see anything? This is your chance.
I do, but the way my brain works, I have to try it first before you showing it to me or anyone showing it to me, before that'll be helpful. So I know what I want. I know what I want to see, but I need to try to do it first.
Okay. And I think too, when it comes to any of these automations, to Angela's point, getting in there and playing around, I have really ruined stuff. Like, I've messed up. I've made my life hell, but I've also helped it so much as well. So just know you're going to mess up, but you just have to get in there, right? Even if you just automate one thing, a week, even the smallest task, automate, streamline, or delegate does not mean all the same thing. Automate, make things happen with or without you. Streamline is just make them happen more smoothly, and delegate is have someone else to do it. So, it doesn't have to be one or all 3, but you should be trying to figure out how you can improve your processes on a very regular basis.
Yes.
I would not be able to do all that we do without.
Right.
My team is huge, and I'm the only one that's helping to manage everyone, and which is like capping me at the 2 pizza team. You ever heard that? Like 2 pizza team sizes. I'm sure you heard it in HR.
Yes.
Like, I'm pretty tapped at this. So without these systems and these processes, I would be drowning. Yep. Trying to make sure everyone does what they need to do.
Yep. It's and systems allow you to grow. Systems allow you to scale.
Much easier, because now you just put someone in it.
Yep. And it allows you to be, it allows the process to continue, not dependent on the person. So you can, swap people in and out all day long. And for the most part, if your automation and the workflow it's running is, set up fairly decently, then it's not going to matter who's running it,
Right.
or who's in that workflow. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yay. Okay. I'm feeling good.
Right, ladies. Well, I'm gonna drop if there are no other questions. Thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll make sure we'll get the next one on the calendar sooner or later. Again, it's for teams only. Just certain things. That one will probably be a much shorter one, but that one will be around like certain things I've implemented myself that my team finds very helpful. Like Lexi loves Trello, and that's because of the way that she's been taught to use it. So.
Yeah, it's I have completely turned Portia out. Like
Definitely invite her to that one too if
you know what. And I feel bad because I meant for her to be in on this one, and
that's okay.
I just completely forgot. But we're getting it, man. This time next month, we really gonna be rocking and rolling. You're gonna be
for sure.
So yeah, so you know how when you're working on something, I'm like where I'm at right now. I'm liking it to cleaning your house or your room or something. You know how you have to totally tear it apart. So there's a moment in time where everything is just a hot mess, and it's just crazy looking. But then you start putting things back together. So I'm in that place where everything's kind of a mess, but I have that vision, and I see where I see it. So I'm putting things in place.
Yeah, which is a good place to be when you're just kind of like stuck in the weeds and just kind of drowning in all of the things. Mm-hmm. At some point you're going to be like, this is it. I got to figure out something. Yeah. And that's exactly how I was. Like, if you guys know my story, you know, I was hitting my sales goals, but I was killing myself doing it. And so it turned into not like it wasn't even a matter of charging more per se, but it definitely was that as well. But how can I make my job easier for me? And then that just so happened to really work for making it easier for others. And I'm able to grow and scale very easily.
Yeah, you're definitely, this is your knack. Cause I didn't realize, really not realize this is the year that I've gotten to that place that you're talking about. This is that year because I've got the office, the coaching is really starting to do this. I've always suppressed coaching because of the office. And for the most part, well, again, up until COVID, the office systems were fine. So I never really, I didn't really, so I feel like I'm bobbing and weaving, and so, so we're getting it together.
Right. Absolutely. And the more things are documented, the more it encourages your team to do so, right? If Lexi can't do something, Miriam can, and vice versa, because it's that well documented, right? Like Lexi, she really enjoys checklists, but her onboarding process, and you can add on to it if you choose, but your onboarding process was not as time intensive for me, for sure, I can say. But it's because most of the things we were already either semi-automated, but at a very bare minimum documented with a checklist of what needs to happen each time. Mm-hmm. And we're constantly changing those checklists and constantly improving on them when we realize something's missing, like hugging all premium members, because why not? I don't know what that means, but clearly when things are missing, we're able to add them and they will always be. See, I don't touch Lexi's board anymore, y'all. So I have no idea what's going on with that.
Lexi.
But see, that's the power in it. I don't have to make her work. I don't have to create cards for her. I don't have to do any of that. Most of it is documented.
You've empowered her. You've empowered her to, you've trained her well, right? So that's one. And you've trained her well in such a way that she's empowered to know and to just go do. And that says a lot about who you are as a manager and as a leader. So coming from my HR, my HR brain, that part of my brain. All right, family. I know it's late for you. I know it's probably later for Miss Lexi, and you probably haven't eaten.
I have not. Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Rhonda will make sure you're